years of kindergarten spent by holding the light switch in the middle position, slowly closing the refrigerator door just so we could see the lighting section off. The Kinder Surprise toys we would ask our parents to buy, playing pretend, building a fort out of the couch cushions while watching the Treehouse channel on Saturday. The sweet, sweet thrill of having a specially designed seat on the swings, only which little kids can fit on, and the ability to freely move around with ease in a jungle gym. Seldom do we ever remember anything from kindergarten. It's miraculous when we remember something at a time our brains are not so good at doing so. I remember taking my bag outside when I was still in kindergarten, only to find out that it was only recess and not home time. There was also time in kindergarten when Mark started clicking his tongue, and soon everyone started to catch on. Now we've reached grade 1, where we're asking our parents why we can't go to school only on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Some of us are still asking. Now we've reached grade 1, where we're asking our parents why. Grade 1 brought changes. No longer would we have recess at our own scheduled time. No, we would be playing with the big kids. The primary yard, where hide and seek wasn't a very big option. That fire hydrant we really needed a restraining order on. And the small area near the walls where trash seemed to magically whirl around in a circle. Who could forget that lonely tree in the grass area that served as our only source of shade while we boiled? And the times we've been told to stay on a certain side of the stairs when we're either going up or down. Yes. For 3 years, it remained that way for us. Of course, during those 3 years of running directly through the hopscotch squares instead of jumping on them one by one, playing football, and the endless fun that comes from kicking a bottle cap around. Quite a few memories have been made. Like the waltz unit, you all remember, those of you who were at St. Michael's in grade 3 at least. Most of us even remember who we danced with. Maybe some of you think it's by Arnold. Or 10 by Arnold, right? Maybe some of you can even remember the huge combo line we had during recess in grade 3. However, we've moved on to bigger things in grade 4. In grade 4, we were introduced into a new environment, most significantly French, especially the way we said hello and goodbye to each other. Bonjour, monsieur, bonjour! Au revoir, monsieur, au revoir! And up until now, where we play ping pong, the fun of learning French hasn't died. Another extraordinary thing happened in grade 4. One day, Cameron Silva brought to school his Pokemon Ultimate Handbook. One thing led to another, and the Pokemon Game Show was born. Asking each other trivia questions to guess the right Pokemon was something the boys did almost every recess. I'm not sure if some of you from Mrs. Campbell's class remember, but in grade 5, Tumba and I did a skit where I tried to order a Big Mac at Burger King. Most of you might remember the super long last recess in grade 5, during which a lot of us played a big game of Red Rover. Speaking of recess, we used to play tips or Foursquare a lot. Of course, a lot of us will remember the talent show we had at the end of that year as well. So now we've moved on to grade 6. And in grade 7, a lot of changes happened, probably because of a natural process in our bodies called, okay. I think most of us have agreed that grade 6 did not display our best behavior, and for that we apologize to our grade 6 teachers. Mr. McNutt's not here, is he? But it was still a year. The year we became very eco-friendly. I can still remember sitting in Mrs. Castro's class, where I barely had any stars, only because I rarely came to see her for any when she told me on several pieces of my work. If she were to mark this speech and at the end write, "Come see me for a star," I probably wouldn't. It's nothing personal. I just have a hard time reminding myself to get a sticker at the end of the class. I'd probably be too busy wanting to play tips outside. Those of you who were in Mr. Melly's class can remember how much fun it was getting your desk dumped if ever you didn't clean it. walkway. We used to have a lot of fun trying to jump over it, especially when the mud turned into a puddle, a greater risk of jacking up your shoes and pants, which only added to the fun. I can still recall when Thomas, Romeo, and I sat together. Man, what a ride, right, Thomas? I can't find it. Remember the legit diaper and fashion show? Our first camping trip, Camp Anakita, was a wonderful experience, and we were so blessed with the fact that this 3-day trip was free. Soon after, it became sort of habitual to compare the overall Camp Anakita experience with other trips. It was fascinating that our counselors had nature names, but it was fun to find out their real names. Ah! I finally found your real name, Polaris! It's Liam! Nature's natural processes affects us all, especially on our trip back home from Camp Anakita. Right, Kevin? All of these years, grade 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, can only exist so much as vague, distant, and even embarrassing memories, even though we will remember all our previous teachers. But the grade 7 and 8 memories are the ones we'll really hang on to. Now, things had really started to change in grade 7. After all our worrying about all the hard work we'd have to do, all the new subjects, and oh my, the new math concepts. And of course, Rotary. Instead of the teachers switching classes, we would be the ones doing so. Mrs. Cole, Mr. DeStephanis, Mrs. Jody Mears, Mr. Zarisnia, Mrs. Pepina, Mrs. Marchis, Mr. Di Francesco, Madame Rubino, Madame Cole Martini, Mr. Janega, and Mrs. Piero. The opportunity to grow stronger than ever before with our beloved grade 7 and 8 teachers is an opportunity we have been greatly blessed with. Fortunately, because we practice Rotary for high school, we get to experience class with another teacher for a certain section of the day, with each teacher being quite unique in their own way. In grade 7, we had Mrs. Cool, Mr. Stephanis, and Mrs. Jody Mears as our teachers. So much has happened. Mrs. Cool brought to our attention Hump Day, which is not only a hilarious commercial we seldom participate in, but teaches us the proper narrative structure. Mr. DeStephanis told us he likes food. And of course, Mrs. Jody Mears always, okay. There's much more to Mr. DeStephanis than his cravings for food, much more. Like the Christmas tree, he decorated with KFC buckets. At times, we would ramble on about food instead of actually talking about science. See, I told you there was much more than his cravings. Of course, we thank Mrs. Jody Mears for preparing us for confirmation. When we would receive the gifts of the Holy Spirit, thank you for the tests, quizzes, and lessons based solely on the sacrament of confirmation. Mrs. Cool, who's made all those sassy remarks about us, reminded us what milkshakes do. What do they do, everyone? What do milkshakes do? 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Antonio. Come on, all of you do it at once. 3, 2, 1. There we go. That's right. Cool's class from grade 7 will definitely remember Deanna and Lane telling ghost stories during lunch. We also played Connect 4 as much as Thomas, Michael, Marcus, Josh, and Kevin played cards. Man, Mr. DeStephanis was a funny guy, putting a chart on the ceiling just because there's no room on the walls, and eating a Big Mac in 2 bites. Surely you can remember when Justin spit a piece of prosciutto into his mouth and he ate it too! I can still remember when the grade 7 classes were fighting to bring in the most cans for the Christmas food drive, and we ended up having one big pizza party. Looks like we were all winners. It was so much fun when in religion we created positivity fans, where we wrote positive things on each other's fans, and it was thrilling to find out what was written on our fans without knowledge of who wrote what. The whole school will never forget our farewell to Mr. Grad last year. We dominated the rest. Remember reciting in Flanders Fields and running play day? Those were all big successes that led to our year-end trip, which we all know as Canada's Wonderland. We were all so excited. We probably went on the stunt poster at least more than twice. The Thunder Run, where seatbelts are just mandatory. Right, Mark? Just mandatory. Grade 8, our last year at St. Michael's School, where we're constantly asking each other, are you ready for grade 9? Are you nervous for grade 9? You're so not going to survive grade 9. And who knew by worrying can add a single hour to his life from Matthew 6. Could you believe at one point we had 2 huge grade 8 classes? Imagine what that'd be like if it never changed. We were all petrified when we received the letter saying whether you'd be put in the new class or not. You got a bit emotional, but everything worked out for the best. This year, we read 2 amazing books. The Giver by Lois Lowry and The Outsiders by S.E. Hilton. I say Hilton because that's how most of us pronounce it in our essays. The first book we read was The Giver. After the extremely ambiguous ending, but perhaps it was only an echo, we wrote narratives based on our depiction of the real ending, which most of us really enjoy putting Rosemary in. As soon as we hear the name Rosemary, oh my gosh, plot twist! We also had to do questions based on the book. Questions Mrs. Cool still has yet to collect. Right, miss? The movie adaptation of The Giver caused quite a lot of confusion. I mean, someone please tell me what makes Asher fit to be a drone pilot. We also read The Outsiders by S.E. Hilton. That's how we pronounce S.E. Hinton's name anyway. We also loved using Johnny's last words. Stay gold, Pony Boy. Stay gold. The squad. You know them. Jason, Napoleon, David, Ryan, and Lucas. Especially Jason, who, after a long day of interruptions, and we finally have time to do a lesson, says, Miss, what's the point? It's cool. She laughed for hours after that. The talent show, in which quite a few of the graduates participated in, was also a big deal. Mrs. Cool, who's been with us for 2 years now, alongside Mr. Zrizniak and Miss Marcus, guided student council, and we thank you for that. It was especially fun trying to teach everyone how to fold a paper crane, am I right? What a disaster! Miss Marcus's class, which was once Mrs. Capina's class, which was once Miss Marcus's class, which was once Mrs. Cool's, Mr. Zrizniak, and Mr. Stephanis' class, which was once the French room. Thank you, good night. Miss Marcus's classroom was the only one we could fit 68 students into, be able to watch movies comfortably. And she had led us through everyone's favorite grade 8 science unit, water systems. Oh, and she was British! Hey Kevin, did you bump into anything on the way here while saying yeah? In fact, what's Miss Marcus's class doing here? Shouldn't you all be running outside yelling, it's DPA, it's DPA? Oh wait, it's just a dream, miss, that would never happen. If you did, then you'd have to be sent to the prayer table. You'd have to make room, Josh. Who could forget all that we learned on the trips to Cathedral, or the readers of the Passion Play being cooped up in that smelly storage room, or even Marcus's costumes not coming on properly. And oh my, camper buff, the high ropes, the food, the campfire, the roast, Vince and awesome. When you get into a street fight, we always win. Yes. We're standing. That must be into that. That must be not. I'm talking to Daniel. Must be nice. What a disaster. Mr. Zuzniak's class, which is now